Hi everyone, today we're going to look at how we can build out else statements in Minecraft Education. Okay, so in this one we're going to have a look at this idea of how do you build out else statements or algorithms and you're using Minecraft Education Edition. Now if you've used Bedrock before, it's a little bit different because you can do different things, but we are going to look at some options of how you could build this out. So if you're using coding cards, you'd have this additional one called else. And essentially by placing that one down, you're kind of stating that you're going to be, I guess, in a way, merging multiple different commands together based on different circumstances. Now let's have a look at those circumstances. Now for most of these, what's going to happen is that if one thing is true, it'll send you to either green or red. And if it's not true, it'll send you to the opposite one. And we're going to build out this first one. So the idea of this first one is, let's imagine a gameplay scenario where I've been given 2 blocks. I'm in adventure mode or survival mode, and I've just been given a block of gold and a block of diamond. So they're the two. And I've got to make a choice. Which one do I want to put down? Now, depending on which one I put down, so if I put the gold block down, it will then teleport me to, let's say, green. Else, which is if I put the diamond block down, it will teleport me to red. So that's what we want to build out. Now, just to save on time for all of these, I kind of have them in ready to go. So let's think about that. This is where I'm going to put my block. Okay, it's where I've put my instructions for the block to go. And so if I stand on it, it's going to give me my coordinates. So 234, 5. So let's do gold first. So let's imagine if we put gold down, it sends me to the green zone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a test for block command. And in there, I need a test for whether that block is there in that position or not. And this time we're going to do a gold underscore block. Very good. So if I was to put down my gold block and I was to press that, nothing happens. But what I can check is that it successfully found that block there. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to connect these two together. I'm going to do that by using a comparator. Now, it sent me straight away because I've actually already activated this block. So let's just remove it. There we go. So now that statement is false. Okay, so it was true. The statement was true. That's why, so if this lights up, basically it's saying it's true. And I pressed it again and it checked and it wasn't there. So it's false. Okay, so that one was true. Now it's false. So if I do it again, it will make that statement true. Put the gold block there. It will teleport me. And it'll remain turned on because it's still true. It's still technically true that this is running. Okay, well that is there. Now I can take it out, but I need to trigger it again. So you notice there when I took it out, the light was still on. It's because I need to trigger it again. I need to test it again. And so because my trigger is a button, I need to press that button every time. If you wanted it to be constantly looking, so running a loop, a constant loop, you would use a repeating command block instead. So it would be constantly looking as to whether that is there. So you would completely forget about the trigger. Okay, I would come to here. I would make this repeating. I would make it always active. And then I'd place that down. Now, the difference is that now when I remove this block, it turns off automatically because it's constantly checking if that's there. But for the sake of this, we're going to go back to impulse and that it needs redstone. Okay, so let's do the other side. So let's do the other part of our statement. So the red one, but this time we're going to check for something else. So / teleport. No, we're not. So we're going to go test for block at the same spot. And we're going to test for a diamond underscore block. Okay. So this time, let's connect that up. There we go. And you can kind of see here that if I just, if I just press nothing, nothing happens. If I put a diamond block there, though, it'll send me to the red zone. So they're my two different statements running there on each side. Now, what we are going to do is we're going to eventually get to this point of saying this example here, which I'm going to come back to, but I just want to let you know that it's towards the end. So if you want to jump to it in the video, you can. But we are going to do this one where it says basically that only if it's a gold block. So if there's nothing, if there's anything else but a gold block, then do something else. But we're going to show that in two different ways because I'm going to teach you kind of a new command in order to do that. But before we do that, we're going to just jump into some other nice little neat examples. So over here in the ground, I have a bit of a hole because we like to keep command blocks hidden. And I've got welcome and I've got goodbye. Okay. And so what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to use a test for command. And what I'm going to basically say is if the player enters this zone, I'm going to get to say hello. Else, which means they're outside of the zone, say goodbye. So it's going to run both at the same time. So it's going to sit together and they're going to work together. They're not two kind of separate statements sitting side by side. So I'm using the one single trigger. So I'm keeping my algorithm in this case, I'm keeping it nice and tight. It's going to run on either way instead of running them separately. So this here, I'm going to put in a test for, and it's just going to check if I'm in that zone. So quite a common one in building out games is checking whether a player is somewhere. So test for, and then I'm going to go just at the nearest player. And then I'm going to say, in this case, I've kind of set a 5 by 5. So I'm going to say the radius is equal to 5. Okay. There we go. Now that will activate and that will turn on. And if I need to actually write it. So it's going to say welcome. So I'm going to go / title. So I'm going to use my title command here. So at player, and let's use a title. I'm going to say welcome. All right. So when I move in, that will trigger. Okay, there it is there. So that's triggered that one because I'm within 5 blocks of this command block, which is just set to repeat, to constantly look. Okay, so every time I walk within 5 blocks, it activates. But I want the else part of it. So what about if that is not true? What about if I'm not within 5 blocks of it? Or I move within 5 blocks? What I'm going to do is we're going to use a redstone torch, which is another one of our triggers. And so what this will do is it will, if I place it on the side here, is that it will turn on and it will trigger this one. So that's my else. So basically I'm saying is that if a player is within 5 blocks, say welcome, else say goodbye, which means they're not within 5 blocks. So when I walk away, sorry, it helps if I actually write it. So / title. So we use a title command here as well. Player, title, bye. Okay. There we go. So now if I walk away, it will say bye. So if I'm within 5 blocks, say welcome, else, which means I'm not within 5 blocks, say goodbye. And then kind of we would tidy this up and you would have, hopefully, no idea that that's there. So I just might have a zone here and welcome. And you can imagine you could use so much more than just title. Okay, they could be given something, they could be teleported somewhere, an effect could occur, or something else could happen. There's a whole line of statements that you could add to your algorithm in this case. So before we learn kind of a little bit of a new command, we're going to have a look at another one, which is a popular one that people always ask about. And that's this idea of checking if someone has something in their inventory. So in this case, we're still going to go to the red area, or we're going to go to the green area. But what we're going to do is we're going to check for an apple. So you could check for lots of things, but we're going to check if the player has an apple. So in this case, it's a little bit of a hack, but what it's going to say is that if the button is pressed, okay, also on the button is pressed, if the player has an apple, then teleport them to the green area. If they don't have an apple, they're going to go straight to the red, okay, which means it's kind of nothing is happening. But the funny thing about making this one happen is that they're always going to go to the red anyway, and then it's only if this is true, then they'll go to the green. Okay, so I'll show you how that's going to work. So at the moment, I don't have an apple, okay, but we're going to put this in. So how you actually do this is, believe it or not, you use the clear command. So we go /clear without the capital. We're looking at the nearest player. We're looking to see if they have an apple. And what you do is you actually write in -1, 0. And what the -1 is doing, that is just checking for a match. Okay, it's checking if that matches the player, whether they have that apple or not. So let's jump out of that. And at the moment, I don't have an apple. So technically what it should do, it will check for an apple, it'll say that I don't have it, and it will send me to the red zone. So clicking on this, there I go. So I go straight to the red zone because I don't have the apple. Now if we go over again, and let's give myself an apple, just need one, and I press this, I'll go to the green zone. Okay, so that's the differences between the two. And what you would have noticed then is that it kind of still sends you to the red, but then makes that final decision. And when it checks, and actually says that you do actually have an apple. So that's that one as well. Okay, let's have a look at this one here, which we refer to, which is about checking whether or not a block is there or not. So what we're going to do is things kind of stay the same here. So we're still going to use our test for in this instance. So this is still going to test for whether a gold block is at that spot or not. So I'm just going to double check here. If I knock that out and stand there, that's going to give me my numbers. I'm going to write them down. So 234, 13. Wonderful. So if I turn around, I can do that. So this is kind of just like the one we did at the very beginning, but I'm going to change something up in a second. So I'm going to go test for block at 234, 13, and it's a gold underscore block. Okay, perfect. So they're all connected up, just like before. Happy. Now, if I press that, it does absolutely nothing. But if I put my gold block there, it sends me to the green zone. Perfect. Now, if I just wanted it to do nothing, that's fine, but that would just be a single statement. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at something called this execute command. And it's kind of, we're going to split them up a bit here, but what we're going to do is look for basically if it's not there. So what we say in Minecraft is unless. So unless it's there. So what we do is we write in /execute. And then what I'm going to say is unless the block, all right, at 234, 13 is a gold block. I know I'm kind of adding words in here, but that's kind of just, it's kind of like it's written in shorthand. So it says, so basically execute that unless a block at 234,113 is a gold block. Okay, so unless it is that, Okay, that is what will trigger it. And then so now doesn't really matter what happens, is that I could put whatever block I could put no block there and I'll still go to the red zone. But if I put my gold block there, it'll send me back. Okay. Now, the thing is with this though, is that it's taking into consideration of if, let's say, someone puts a different block there, they've got a diamond block, it's still going to send me there to that zone. Okay. It won't matter. I can put a variety of different blocks there, but unless it's gold, it will always send me to the red zone. Zone. Now that is kind of like what it looks like when it's set up. But there is another way of doing it. And that is, this here is exactly the same, just a lot simpler, a lot less blocks involved. And yes, I've just kind of put the button straight on the command block, but you could build it out however you want. So the reason why I've done this is because if you want to start using the execute command, is that you can run another command inside of it as part of it. You don't need to have the separate blocks. It's kind of a cool little feature of the execute command that I like. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm just going to open it up just so we've got a little bit more room, because it is a little bit of a long one. So I'm still going to run, we're going to do the red, so sending you to the red area first. Okay, so that's the unless. You go to red unless it's gold. So we're going to go execute unless the block at, now this is a new position, so I just need to check it. So I'm going to say here. So it's 222, 13, sorry, 33, 19. So unless the block at, where I wrote it, 222, 33, 19, is a gold underscore block. And then this is the extra part. So before I had a comparator connecting to another command block. But if you want to use these, you don't actually have to do that. You can go run. And then I'm going to run a teleport command. So it's kind of like putting two commands inside of one, which is kind of awesome. It's only really ever been something we've been able to do with NPCs. So 176 is the coordinates. So these are just my numbers of where those areas are, where the red area is. It's at 33.8. So I've got these written down already. Perfect. So that's unless the block is gold. Okay, so let's just run that first. And let's put a diamond block down. It's not gold, so it sent me to the red area. Here, again, I could put concrete block down. Still not gold. So let's set up that if it is gold, which is just the one behind it. So let's remove that. So we're going to go to the green, and this is kind of our if part of our statement. So in this case, we're going to go execute if the block, whoops, at 222, 33, 19 is a gold underscore block. Then we go run teleport at player to 176, 33, 13. Sorry, let's open that up a bit more. So execute if the block at 222, 33, 19 is a gold block. So if it is a gold block, then run this teleport, which is going to send me to the green area. So let's have a look. We know the red one works. Let's put down the gold block. Let's run that, and it sends me to the green. Now, the cool thing about this is that if you then open the block afterwards, it says that the execute command unless block test failed, which means it's false. The statement's false. So what we're saying here is that if the block at this position is gold, then teleport you or teleport the nearest player to the green area. Else, if the block is not gold, if it's anything else, send them to the red. So it's kind of those two. That's your if-else statements sitting together right next to each other, which is pretty cool. Now we're going to have a look at one more example, which you can kind of explore a little bit further, which is, and I'm just going to deviate from teleporting and just go to a give command just to show something a little bit different. But blocks have different states, and so this is a good example. This is a daylight sensor or detector, and it can be just inverted or it can just be as it is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to basically say, depending on its state, is what's going to happen. So let's have a look. So let's, it doesn't really actually matter which one it goes in, but let's do giving someone an egg first. So here I have it kind of already written out just to explain, to save on a bit of time, because we've done this a few times now. So what it's saying is that execute if the block at 2223315, which is, just to explain, let's jump out, that position, the block at that position. If it's a daylight detector inverted, okay, run the give at player and egg. But what I've then done here is just kind of duplicated it. Oh, sorry, this one I'm going to do for you. So let's type this one out. So we're going to go execute if the block at 2223315, and this time the last one was inverted, so this one will just be the opposite, which is just daylight underscore detector. I'm going to say run give at player an apple, I think I had. There we go. So there we go there. So I've just got a button here. That's going to be my trigger. So this is going to be my on. And so at the moment it's just normal. So let me just get rid of this apple to show it actually working. And there we go. So there's my one apple. If I invert this and then I go press again, I get an egg. All right, so there's kind of 6, I think, different examples of how you can build out else statements using command blocks. I hope you find them super useful and you have fun using them in Minecraft education. We will see you again soon. Cheers.